Okay, hi everyone. Welcome to
Hello.
Day number 7. We are here with 2 of our 3 guests. Just as we were about to go live, Donna had some internet trouble, so she will be popping up magically at some point, hopefully soon, and it'll be like a special treat for all of us when she returns. So thanks again, everyone, for showing up. Our guests tonight for this special SFF romance version of Date Night are Kit Rocha and Milla Vane. Kit Rocha, who Bree is representing right now, is the pseudonym for the New York Times and USA Today best-selling author duo Donna Herron and Bree Bridges. They are best known for their gritty and sexy dystopian Beyond series and were the first indie authors to receive a Romantic Times Reviewer's Choice Award. They currently live 3 miles apart in Alabama and spend their non-writing time caring for a menagerie of animals and crafting handmade jewelry. All of which is chronicled on their various social media accounts. And Milla Vane suckled at the plump teat of 80s fantasy movies and was never properly weaned. Under a pen name, she is also an award-winning and New York Times bestselling author of steampunk and paranormal romance. Milla currently resides in Oregon. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming to Date Night and being our dates. So I guess first, Milla, you had a book release this week, and it is the second full-length book in your Gathering of Dragons series. So can you tell us a little bit about the book that dropped this week?
Yes, it's called A Touch of Stone and Snow, and I usually stumble over that, so I'm really amazed I got it out the first time. And it's kind of like a second chance, childhood friends to lovers to enemies to lovers romance, and it takes place in kind of like a barbarian fantasy world. And anyway, my heroine Lizanne has been exiled. She was a soldier for her realm, and she was exiled after a whole bunch of people were killed under her command. And the bastard prince, who is also kind of an outcast in the society, was part of the reason why she had to go, and she had loved him. But so this takes place 2 years after that happened, and he kind of catches up to her and chases her for a little while, and then they kind of have to work things out.
I didn't hear you say anything about how freaking hot it is. Come on.
well,
you're leaving it out.
There's a bath scene and against a wall scene and some other like in a tent scene and
inventive locations.
Yes. They are not they're not shy. I guess I should say.
Creative use of architecture.
And Bree and Donna, do you want to tell us about your upcoming series starter coming out next week?
Are we going to fight over who do it? You do it, Donna.
No, you do it.
Okay.
You do it.
We have a book coming out next week, Deal with the Devil. It is the first of our Mercenary Librarian series, which is basically, it is set in after the same apocalypse event, basically, as our previous books, but on the other side of the country. It takes place in Atlanta in the shadow of a scary medical technical tech corporation who sort of runs everything and experiments on people and makes super people. And some of the super people who are running around are our main characters. One is a super soldier named Knox, who is trying to get away from this company and free his men so they can live a better, less terrible life. And he gets sort of crosswise of the heroine Nina, who is not a super soldier. She's just super powered. And she's just trying to live her best life and build a library with her best friends. And this dude's going to come and mess everything up.
I really love that kind of like sitcom version of Deal with the Devil. Like,
yeah. That sounds so lighthearted.
Then they go go on a post-apocalyptic road trip, and there's cage fights, and they bang in a thunderstorm, and
TGIF this Friday on NBC. Like what is going on?
So obviously these are both. We have one sci-fi, one fantasy series, and like both of these series. Well, this is the first book in the series, but both of these books and the series that you've written thus far have really in-depth world building. And can you talk a bit about, Milla, starting with you, talking a bit about the world building you've done for the Gathering of Dragons series, because it's really like, I don't know all of the fantasy terms, but it's like very intense. It really pulls you in. You've thought of all of the details in a way that is like really, I mean, the world building is really rich and really draws you into all of this political intrigue, as well as the romance, as well as the like wild creatures running around. So can you talk about a bit about like how you went about coming up with the world that the series is set in?
I guess it's, as in my bio, I wrote that, I suckled at the teat of 80s fantasy movies. And that's kind of what the basis of it all is. Just my love for that kind of epic adventure where demons and weird creatures kind of crawl out of everywhere. And also like Conan the Barbarian. The movies, I mean, those were fun too, but like the original books, those were really fascinating to me. And they always seem to be road trips where Conan travels around and then he fights something and then he goes on. And so I kind of wanted to bring that kind of just magic and just kind of crazy creatures that I can throw in. And like I have dinosaurs in there, and I'm like, just like, it's like, why not? That's kind of what my world building process is. It's like, what would be fun to do? And then like, how can I make it work in the world? And then I try to make it work. But it's basically like, what sounds fun? What sounds like ridiculous even? Like what as a reader would I want to read in this book that would make me go just like, yes? And so that's basically what the world building is. That's all it is. It's just like, what's going to be fun and what's kind of like ridiculous and like I'll enjoy writing. And that's all it is.
Okay.
So how did you feel about Beastmaster with Mark Singer?
Oh my God. Okay. So we had that on a VHS tape with Superman 2. And I watched, in fact, the entire series can probably go back to that VHS tape of Beastmaster and Superman 2. It's like superheroes and Beastmaster. Like, I mean, as horrible.
That is so clearly your origin story.
Yeah, you can see it. That's why I asked about that movie particularly, because you can absolutely, I was like, I'm seeing something here. Yeah.
Well, I'm not sure if you read the dedication for A Heart of Blood and Ashes, which is the first full-length book. It was actually, part of it was to Mark Singer's loincloth. So no,
I missed that.
Beastmaster was a huge inspiration. I mean, he had those leather strips. And like when he had his sword, and he's like, I'm like, they were not shy about showing what was good looking about a barbarian. And that
I think my favorite thing about that character was how much he loved his little ferrets.
I know.
The cute little ferrets.
And then the tiger, like, like maybe He-Man was also like an inspiration.
Yeah.
In A Touch of Stone and Snow, there's a giant saber-toothed cat named Cave. And like, and that can also go back to He-Man or Beastmaster or one of those, instead of having that giant cat that's a friend.
I dig it.
I love cats.
I love it.
Sorry, I went off on a tangent.
No, I love that. I have now seen Beastmaster. I did think of He-Man because I just remember. Okay, we will watch Beastmaster one day.
It's so terrible and so wonderful all at once.
For me, when I saw that Eric's had a cat, I was like, a giant cat. I was like, I really wanted one myself when I was a kid watching He-Man.
Oh yeah.
So and obviously I have like many small cats now, but so I do love seeing kind of how the things from our childhood show up in our work now, which is
I have a dog joining me.
Hi, Leah.
He heard
There
all the
must have
talk
been
about cats and
thunder.
got jealous.
Oh,
Lyra's like, I am going. It's my time to shine on date night. I will have some questions
I
for
wanna say
Lyra
hi.
later.
yeah.
Lyra, what was your contribution to
This,
deal with
if
the
there
devil?
must have been thunder. Whenever there's thunder, she comes and she climbs up behind me in my chair like this.
Oh.
And she's
Her
like 80 pounds.
contribution to last night was not wanting to let her mama sleep.
I love how much you guys in the chat love Lyra.
So Bree and Donna, so you have more sci-fi world building. It's a tech. Sorry guys, like as I apologize every week, my brain is like not optimally functioning at this time. You are writing a kind of tech dystopia, and so that kind of requires a different skill set with world building and research and stuff. So can you talk a bit about building the world of mercenary librarians, and also, if you'd like, how it's similar to and differs from the world of Beyond and Gideon's writers, even though it's an overarching universe?
I think that well, first of all, when we started kind of building the idea for the Beyond series, this was like summer of 2012 is when we were sitting there and we started doing, like, we were going to write a novella, but we kind of got caught up on all this world building and everything, and the jumping off point was that there had just been this big, like, solar storm. Like, there was this group of coronal mass ejections that had just happened, and they had narrowly basically missed Earth. And so NASA and some other groups, they were getting together and they were launching a study essentially on this set of solar storms, and their plan was to try and estimate to the best of their ability, if this had hit Earth, what would the consequences have been? How much damage, how would it have changed and affected, daily life basically for everyone on the planet and in, like, various countries. And so we were like, yeah, we want to do like an apocalypse. That's a good one. Let's do that. And everything has sort of spiraled from there. And this is the same universe, so they had the same set of apocalypses. And I want to
exciting event.
Well, I want to use the plural there, because here's the thing, is that the inciting event wasn't the actual apocalypse. Because if they had had proper preparation in infrastructure at that point when those happened, they would have been able to weather those storms, literally and figuratively. But because internal services had been so privatized to the point of, and privatized and starved, which, let's be real, something we see now, already happening.
We really need infrastructure week.
We did not, like, pull this out of our butts from nowhere. But what we sort of wanted to do was, take it further, like, play it out, extrapolate what would happen. And the biggest difference between, like, the Beyond series and this series is that you have a different set of circumstances that sort of, like, played out at that point. The Southeast, particularly around Atlanta, a lot of people aren't really aware of exactly how much medical and biomedical technology and technological research goes on in the entire Southeast, but particularly, in Atlanta. Atlanta's a big hub for that sort of thing. So what we wanted to do was focus on that, like, sort of take that particular aspect of this region, and what exactly would a conglomeration of medical technical corporations do? They would step in, but nothing's free. So where do you go from that? And so that, it played out in a different way. than, over in Nevada with, the Beyond series. But those differences are like kind of the most interesting things to me, because you have people just like now who are living in the same world, and yet it can be like an entirely different planet, depending on where you are and what circumstances you're in. So,
and who has power around you, and what
Right.
your
Yeah.
relationship to the people in power are.
Yep.
Because that's, I mean, we write about people who are generally not holding the power, but the Beyond series was very much, what if, religious fanatics with access to a really strong, the only military left, had all the power. And this is, what if Amazon and Apple had a baby with, every crazy medical
with
research
Kaiser Permanente, yeah.
Gilead Pharmaceuticals. So yeah, that's sort of where it came from.
Awesome. And we're
Yeah.
seeing that play out right now, just in I definitely was thinking of, Deal with the Devil and sci-fi in general, when you see when we started seeing parts of America splitting off into alliances for like PPE and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it is
somebody sent me one of the maps of the alliances, and I swear to God, I have the map here. It did not look that different. I was real freaked out.
Yeah.
We have all of our little regions, and I was like, no, please stop.
Well, but we developed the regions for a reason, and you end up with these things that seem really creepy and almost coincidental or prescient, but really it all just stems from how seriously do you take your world building? Do you do it in a way? If you do it in a way that is realistic, you're gonna have stuff like this that happens. And next series, it's puppies shitting rainbows. I swear to God, that's all it's gonna be.
Alyssa is the queen of this. Alyssa writes books and then they happen. So I've told Alyssa it's universal health care and everybody has free pie.
I was just reading earlier. Actually, it was earlier this week, but the AI Who Loved Me, and I was, there's so many things in there. I mean, obviously, you wrote it recently, because there were so many references to kind of current events, like the steel trade and tariffs and stuff. But it really was, you could see.
That's how I feel about the thriller.
The could go in this way, and
it was, honestly, it was freaky to me, because after I turned it in, obviously, like Donna said, you base it on the things that you're reading, but then you start seeing things and how they are playing out in a way that's too similar. There were those robot dogs that were cute, and it was all oh yeah, these dogs are cute. And it's but they're not going to be used for cute things.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's the side effect.
Unicorn shitting hallucinogenic rainbow stuff. Okay, let's not have puppies shitting hallucinogenic rainbow material, okay? Just happy rainbow material.
Normal rainbows.
Normal rainbows. Can't they just poop normal rainbows? I don't want any of this hallucinogenic stuff happening. No psychoactive rainbow poop. My kid just walked down the hall and caught part of that, and she's just sort of
Mama's working.
Very confused.
So between A Heart of Blood and Ashes and A Touch of Stone and Snow, I really like the change up in the dynamics between the couples. So in the first book in the series, we kind of have the real
jerk,
the real jerk, a real piece of work. Even though he grows on you along the way, after some particular things that we were talking about in the green room. I really love that kind of dynamic, how you can switch back and forth between kind of the hero types, because then in this book we have a hero who is a cinnamon roll who kind of, to balance kind of, if you read the first book and we're just like, I'm going to like strangle this man. And then in this book, we get a hero who's a bit more, I mean, obviously at some points he needs some strangulation. Okay, I won't get into that. But like, you know, when we first see him, one thing that stuck out to me when I was reading the beginning of it, like when he's first thinking about Lizen, and he sees a footprint that might be her footprint, and he's just like describing this footprint in like a super sweet and romantic way. And I was like, how does she make a footprint description sound romantic? So can you talk a little bit, because you're writing this like it's a barbarian fantasy. So can you talk a bit about kind of hero? Well, we're all going to talk about heroines, and we'll get to the futuristic heroes later too. But can you talk a bit about like the heroes in the series and what, I don't know, what you were thinking, why you wanted to write these kinds of heroes, and what appealed or annoyed you about them?
Well, like Maddox, he really is. I saw somebody call him an alpha hole, and he is. And you know, I think it's interesting. We all have like definitions of what our heroes are and what alpha is. And to me, like Maddox probably was an alpha hero before his parents were killed, and that's not a spoiler because it happens right at the beginning of the book. And then he's just so grieving, and he's so angry, and he turns into like, and like he doesn't deal with it well at all. I mean, and it's because, you know, he's never really lost anything. He's never really been hurt in this way. And so he doesn't know how to react. And so he just turns into this like massive vengeance seeking kind of untrusting jerk. And his arc through that book is kind of becoming what I consider an alpha, which is a leader and a caretaker and someone who isn't necessarily, who's confident, but isn't going to, he's going to lift his people up. He's not going to put them down. And so, and so that's really what his journey is he kind of was already that, like maybe a malleable form of that. And then he just got like shoved off, you know, by his grief and his anger and his helplessness, because he's never been helpless before. But here he's, you know, he wants to have vengeance, and he's told, no, you can't do that. And he doesn't know what to do. And so he's lost, and he doesn't know how to deal with that. And so he really does just turn into this horrible, jerky kind of person that you kind of understand where he's coming from, but he's also treating her really badly. And she's like, we aren't talking about heroines yet, but even I love her. So, I mean, I'm like, even as I'm writing, I'm like, you're a jerk. But I really like to have that dynamic between them, because you can't really see necessarily how strong a heroine is unless you put her up against something. And either she's against the world or she's against a hero. And sometimes that's hard to manage the romance and the hero and the, you know, and but to make sure that they both come out equal. But I mean, they didn't come out equal because Yvonne is obviously way up high above him. But, but to go through that arc where he really kind of like figures out, okay, this is what I do when I'm helpless. This is how I should react, not how I did react. But and it's funny because the second book, I actually originally intended it to be another like kind of really antagonistic like relationship where he exiled her, but he really did like he had like family who were killed when she like led these people into this massacre. And so he was holding that against her. And then I was trying to write that book, and it just, but she was just like in such a bad place. And I was like, for a hero to, like Yvonne, she has more resilience, and Lisanne, she's very strong, but she's just been beaten down, and so she can't take anymore. So if I had a hero that was doing that to her, that would just be cruel. And I think that's another thing that for me that like is the line between a hero and someone who can't be a hero, is the line between, you might hurt somebody, but like being really cruel, you have to be really careful with that, because when you're cruel and deliberately cruel, that's a lot harder to come back from. So that's to me like what I was trying to do with the hero is I wanted Eric's to be really mean, but I couldn't do it. I couldn't do it.
that matters though. Like it matters, you know, that because there are people where it's like they can have dynamics where it's like Dallas did things to Lex
Mm-hmm.
in the Beyond series that, like, if, you know, he had done that to any other, like, person in any other situation, or who, like, you know, maybe was, like, less prepared to handle it or less able to, like, push back, that it just, like, it would have been, like, horrific. Like, so,
Yeah.
he would have been one of our villains, you know? Like, somebody would have needed to, like, you know, stick a knife in him and dump him in an alley, you know? I mean, so it matters. It
Right.
matters what their lines are, you know? Like, how
Are you
they,
kicking a puppy or not?
yeah.
I mean, if
Yeah.
if you're trying to kick a wolf and the wolf could take your foot off, it's
Yeah.
a different dynamic. And
Yeah, that's true.
Yvette could take his foot off, and she did. And then she came for the other one.
Yeah, and I think that's like such like when we talk about like, you know, alpha and jerky heroes, there is the nuance that, you know, there are people who are jerks sometimes, especially when dealing with trauma. And I think, you know, with Matic, you made it really clear, like, he was so frustratingly and like jerky, but at the same time, you kind of like, okay, I won't let this slide, but I understand why he's doing this. It makes sense. It makes sense why she's reacting the way she is to it. And like, you saw kind of how he could be redeemed and why she would want to redeem him instead of just being a jerk. And like the same thing with Dallas and Lex. Like, you see what she sees in him, and you see what they see in each other and how they interact. And but speaking of Beyond, let's talk about the Silver Devils, and which is, you know, a band of I was going to say Robros, but they're not exactly robots. Bionic Bros.
Bionic Bros.
And we'll get to but we actually have 2 finger banging situations to talk about. Sorry. Sorry.
There's always a couple of those sprinkled through every book, right? Right.
Reflections being made in my brain.
With mechanical fingers, right?
Because I just remember the bionic finger banging situation when it was being okay. Anyway, Silver Devils. Let's talk about those guys. They
Band
are
of $6 million bros.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll call them that.
So can you talk about?
I love them. I honestly, like, sometimes I don't like writing heroes, and like Nox is someone who is admittedly like, and this isn't a spoiler because it's in a lot of the marketing copy. He's basically, his goal, his like job, his mission is to betray Nina from the get-go. He is luring her into a trap. And the reason he's luring her into a trap is he watched her and he said, wow, I can't take this chick down. She's too dangerous.
Don't worry, y'all. She knows it's a trap.
Yeah.
Don't worry.
And
She's aware.
so normally, when I have to write a hero like that who is doing something admittedly very bad, you know, I would be more mad at him, but we put him in a situation. Nox is nothing selfish. There's nothing, he's not doing this for himself. He expects that this is going to destroy him emotionally, but he's going to do it because he needs to save his bionic bros. And, you know, not just his bros, he's their leader. They're his dudes. They're his people. He is going to sacrifice anything he has to do for them. And I love all of them. I mean, we've got like the sniper, the surly, silent sniper, and the kind of chaotic hacker boy, and the
Is Gray really surly? I mean, I don't know if I would call Gray surly. I mean, it's just
taciturn.
Yeah, he's quiet. He keeps his own counsel. How about that?
Yes. And Rafe, who is the, you know, cheerful man whore, also brawler. he's the grifter and the punchy guy.
Oh, so also the intelligence officer.
Yeah. So I love writing. I do like writing. I mean, I like writing girl gangs, but I like writing the, as I call them, the brotherhoods of badasses. You know, which are definitely a romance staple, but
yeah.
I love them.
Rape is in everyone's man.
That is true.
Ladies' man, man's man, everybody's man.
So, I mean, I feel
Here for the
like
race.
both of these series are really, although Silver Devils are great, it is the Mercenary Librarian series. So, can we talk a bit about your heroines who are the girl gang? And I just wanted to talk a little bit because a bit of the overlap in these two series is kind of, they are both, you know, I mean, there's been like the conversation about grim dark and hope dark and stuff like that, but it's basically in a lot of both of your works, it's hopeful stories and dark timelines. And within those timelines, kind of finding the individual people who are like working to make change for the better, but also communities and coming together. So in Mercenary Librarian, there really is an emphasis on, like in the Beyond series, there is this emphasis on this group of women who are within their community, trying to make things better, and they also can kill you. So, which is like awesome.
They don't want to, but I mean, if you force their hand,
Well,
it's going to happen, you know?
at least
Danny
one of
might
them.
want to.
Okay, Danny wants to, but, you know, even she's not about that life for the fun of it, you know? I mean, well, like, it's,
Only bad guys. She only wants to kill me.
Not usually.
you know.
So can you talk a bit about like kind of taking the idea of librarianship and mixing it with people who will fucking kill you? Because I mean, having interacted, and I'm not talking about the cliche of like mean librarian who tells you to be quiet in the library, but librarians go through things, okay? Like people, like just having spoken to friends who worked at library,
Yeah.
like just the everyday things of like someone walking into your workplace and behaving wildly, and you having to have the skills to manage that, in addition to all of the book work and reshelving and administrative work. So librarians are already badasses, but I like this kind of like idea of the murder, adding some murder in the mix if necessary, not wanton murder, just necessary. But can you talk a bit about Nina and the gang and their library and kind of their backgrounds?
You want me to
Ooh,
start,
their
Donna?
Their backgrounds is a tricky
Or-
one.
You know, well, not too much about their background. Or I guess
Yeah.
just about them working together.
Well, a lot of
Yeah.
what I thought about, and this is a story I've told a couple times, like, one of the things I thought about when we were doing this is that when my grandparents were building their house, they were extremely poor, and they were like, my grandfather was getting wood from like, you know, salvaged wood and pulling out the nails and stuff and trying to build it on his own. And every night he would go to the library and like research how to build a septic tank, how to like dig his own septic tank, how to do these things. So like for him, it was very much, and this was like, you know, right after World War II, you know, still a little like his family had suffered a lot in the Great Depression. And so like for him, the library was the place where you go to find survival skills. And so that is something I really thought about. And also watching as we have had this like political unrest and stuff, and you know what's going on, libraries is like community organizing centers. And so these women, I mean, if they can get access to this information and they can tell you, here's how you bake bread, because we know that baking bread is apparently the first thing we're all going to do. Here's how you plant seeds and make them grow. Here's some tools you can borrow to fix your broken house. Here's, you know, it's the idea is the library is the place that connects you with the things that help you live a better life, and also the things that make you happy, like the books and the music and the, you know, movies. And so for Nina, there's one thing she says in Deal with the Devil, which is people didn't stop creating just because the world ended. And so like another thing they do is that she wants to preserve the things that people are still making. because I don't think anything can stop us from making art, telling stories, you know. So for Nina, the quest is really, I mean, preserving these things and helping people have them because it makes people's lives better.
Yeah. I think where the whole like murder lady aspect of it comes in is that like it's not quite like acquisitions. It's not quite the same sort of like deal. It's not like, you know, Robin Bradford having to like, you know, order DVDs and stuff. It's like they actually have to, you know, go out and find this information, find these books, you know, like excavate places that have collapsed and look for, you know, like not just physical books, but, you know, data caches, you know, things that they can find. And if other people find these things, putting it out there that, you know, like they're willing to buy these goods or like barter for them. And, you know, that's a dangerous way to live, you know, like it is not without its, you know, not without its issues. And so their backgrounds, at least two of our murder ladies were essentially like created as weapons. They were, you know, all three of them were created as tools, two of them as physical weapons, one of them as, you know, a
Wikipedia
mental tool that would also be a weapon of its own sort, you know. And so they're not scared of the danger. They're not like looking for it. It's not like the part of their lives that, you know, kind of, you know, makes them happy, except for Danny, Lily. Okay, except for Danny. Danny wants to murder people for fun. You know, but the right people. So,
and like
you know,
I said with the organizing, that's dangerous because if you make people less desperate, the people in power have less power over them. So being able to murder some folks is useful then too.
Yeah.
And and there's an overlap in this in A Touch of Stone and Snow, and getting to talk about Milla's heroines. This line stuck out to me. It was when Eric's is thinking about his first meeting with Lizen, and he sees her, and she's training to be a soldier, but no one wants her to be a soldier because they think she's soft-hearted. And then the line is, she said that she wanted to become a soldier to prevent harm from coming to anybody, and she could not imagine anything more soft-hearted than using her own body to protect those she loved. So
I love her so much.
So I kind of wanted to talk about the heroines in your book, but also kind of the idea overall of the protectors, protectors in both of these worlds. And in A Gathering of Dragons, there is kind of, with the Vane, we have this heroine who everyone looks at and physically thinks that she is weak. She has a disability. She is not a warrior in a world where that's something that is important. But she has her inner strength and intelligence and resiliency, as you said before. And then we have Lizen, who is a warrior, but who is not resilient and who is soft-hearted. So I kind of love the way you take these ideas of romance heroines and kind of take them. The way I see it is like taking the ideas and then for both of you, then taking the ideas that are the subversions of those ideas and then subverting those ideas. And this is something I think I've spoken about before, because like, you know, a lot of times with romance heroines, there can be the idea of like the only way to be strong is to be physically strong and mentally strong, or to like,
I hate that. I hate that so much.
So I kind of, you know, and I think I probably talked about this with Nalini a bit too, the idea of strength being rooted in emotion or the desire to protect, and you know, how that plays out in different books in different ways. So, Milla, can you talk a bit about, your heroines and their arcs and how you came up with them a little bit, if you want, or just whatever you feel like talking about them?
I don't know if I can necessarily like think of it in terms of like coming up with them in arcs. It's more like
or how they came to you, rather.
Right. So when I was actually writing The Kraken King when I first thought of Yvonne and Matic and that relationship. And the way that I kind of write a book is what happens is like a scene will occur to me. And this one was where Matic is going to kidnap her for revenge or whatever. And he's going to kill her. And then she turns around and she says, and she kills her brother and then says, no, let's team up and kill my family. And so that was like, I was like, how do I get to that point? And what happens after
the record scratch moment right there?
Yeah, and like, what kind of heroine would this be? And like, why does she need him? You know, because I have written a lot of like really like warrior type heroines. And like, what purpose does he serve? Like, what does she need out of him? Because I mean, I'm really, really heroine centric when I write. I mean, it's always like, who is going to be good enough for this heroine? And I try to write a hero who's going to fit that mold. And sometimes, you know, I mean, and at the end of every single book, I always think, well, I mean, he's not good enough for her, but it's as good as it's going to get in this world, you know? Yeah. So my heroines always come first. And so I just really like writing that mix of and playing with the idea of like what's weakness and what's strength. And because, you know, like it seems like for so long if a heroine was going to be tough, then it was like always coded as masculine or whatever. And then that strength and emotion, I really, you know, I women to me are so incredibly strong and emotionally strong and, you know, have withstood so much in every way. And it seems like that's not celebrated enough. And so to really celebrate that emotion of kindness and caring, where even, you know, her entire focus is, I need to help my people and protect my people and save them from my father. And that's what it means to be a good queen. It's not to, you know, to rise above them, it's to lead them and to try to make sure that they're okay. And Lizanne is the same way. So the core of it is basically the same. It's just that they're different women, so they have different approaches and different reactions to everything. And actually, I was thinking about it when Nina, she's very much like a Lizanne type of character, where you know, that soft, kind, but also, you know, just this kick-ass warrior who is very strong and very confident in what she can do. But she's not. But she's very good at that kindness. And I don't know. To me, it's all like different versions of Wonder Woman or something. I'm like very. I'm like
we pitched her as post-apocalyptic Wonder Woman.
Yeah. There's like a big part of the interaction between like Nina and Nox throughout the book, and this is not like spoiler stuff, is that because she cares so much and is still kind of like, you know, fighting the good fight, like Nox has been so like, you know, beaten down by his experiences that he looks at her and he sees somebody who like must be naive or like ignorant or like not understand just how terrible the world is. Like she must not know this yet because she's still like, you know, she hasn't gotten to the point where, you know, she's given up and she stopped fighting. And he kind of like slowly has to come to the realization that she, like way before he ever walked into her life, she knew how terrible, you know, the world was and how horrible stuff is. But, you know, like, she knows she can't change the world. But that doesn't mean that it's okay to stop trying. Right. And so because she hasn't given up, because she's still sort of like throwing herself against that brick wall, it's actually, you know, damaging the brick a little. It's actually like taking it down a bit, you know, that because that's the thing. And I think that this is something that people in general just sort of kind of overlook, which is that you don't have to be Superman or Wonder Woman like to help and to, you know, save the world. If you have like helped one person, just one person, you may have actually like saved their world.
Right.
So, you know, I mean, like, that you can't stop or not do anything just because you can't change everything, you know, change something. So, and, you know, I like the fact that, you know, a big part of this series, and, you know, this first book was sort of like getting to that point, but the big part of this series, and like your stuff too, is like learning that there are characters who have to like learn that it's not about necessarily like the grand levels of success, that if you can just like be true to yourself and do something that, you know,
that doesn't like you know, like you're talking about Knox and how he comes to this book very cynical and world weary, and he just thinks, you know, it's all bad. And I feel like that's like really the heart of romance is to say that, you know, there's more than just cynicism, and we don't need to only celebrate cynicism. And there are, you know, and like, okay, yeah, we have rosy happy endings, but it's not foolish to think that, you know, loving someone and being kind to someone can't really make a difference and leave the world a better place than it is.
Yep. It's important. It's important. I mean, it's for some of us, you know, yeah, that is the only thing that we can maybe do with our lives. But you know what? That's enough. That's good. That's like, that's the thing. The one thing from like City Slickers. The secret to life is just one thing. It's like, you know, what's the one thing? Well, you know, it's this thing.
So
find out what it is.
You guys, I had a question for.
Oh, bye. Text me. Let me know where you're going and what you're doing.
All right. I'll wait for Donna to stop momming.
Sorry, no, my kid just left. I don't know. She's walked out the door with an overnight bag.
She's like, now is my time. She's on the Zoom.
Yeah, she's like, escape, freedom.
No, I was going to talk about the kind of how in science fiction and fantasy there is often the idea of the chosen one, the one person who can save the world or the country or, you know, whatever, and how you're both all of your writing and these series in particular with kind of people coming together to fight against the bad guys, whether they be like supernatural or just regular, unfortunately, regular evil tech people like we have now. And kind of how these books take a different approach, that there are people who are strong and who could kind of take the route of, yes, I am the only one who can do this and who can save the world, and who then come to learn that no, it's about community, friends, and having other people come together. But basically you both already spoke on that.
Can I say one thing?
No, Bree.
No, I was actually, you just made me think about this. A lot of science fiction and fantasy series are like urban fantasy. The structure of them is about one central character that you read about for 8 books or 9 books or 15 books, or if you are really lucky, I don't know, 15 books. Maybe only if you're JR, you know, Rob. But for romance, part of the practical structure is communities. When you're building a series, you're going to want your next couple and your next couple and your next couple. And I think that really encourages us, just like practically, but also, you know, I think you're drawn to if you're drawn to that sort of thing. We love writing ensembles. We love writing found family. We love writing community. And I think romance sort of almost demands that of you, especially like sci-fi fantasy romance, these series, you know, who's your next couple, or, you know, who's your community that's going to band together at the end. Like, I think about the last Guardians book. Like, sometimes I reread that final fight all by its own. Just because it's like every character who you've ever introduced, all of a sudden they come in with their unique special skills in this like perfect combination, and then they literally kill Satan.
Yeah, like the big climactic Avengers thing.
Yeah,
Everybody showing up, and like, here's the thing: is it takes everybody showing up.
Mhm.
I mean, sure, it's cool that we were all right. Everyone who said that Cap could absolutely wield Thor's hammer, but sure, that's cool. But that's the thing. It's not just Avengers. It's Avengers Assemble. I mean, like, you got to get them together. And I don't know, like, I don't understand the fascination, not for reading like a chosen one narrative, but for like wanting to develop or write one. Like, I don't get it. Like, I can't put myself in those shoes and be excited about it. Like, I would be like, that would be the most terrifying thing in the world. Like, to be like the chosen one. Now, if you want to explore it in that way, it's like somebody who's like, wow, this is poop. This is not awesome. If something happens to me or I don't get it done, like, oh my, like, that's it. Like, the world, bye, boo, no more.
I will say that's why I like the Wheel of Time books. That's kind of what they are.
Yeah.
And he messes up all over the place. And then, 14 books worth of it.
Yeah,
So,
like, I would be terrified. I would be non-functional. I would be a non-functional chosen one. I would be paralyzed by everything. Every aspect of that would just like destroy me. I'd be like, well, I mean, I could have been part of a team, but it's just gonna be me. Sorry, guys.
Okay, so it's 7 now. So we're gonna start wrapping things up with some questions. First, I want to ask the question that I always ask. Over the last few weeks, have you watched any television series or read any books that you would recommend to our dates who are here with us tonight? Or if you have not had time to read or watch anything, have you picked up any books that you are planning to read soon that really you are excited about?
Well,
So we can start with Milla.
Okay, I'll just jump in anyway. I watched Old Guard, and that was on Netflix, and that was a lot of fun, and it fits right in with this chat here because it brings in some really amazing like female characters, and then there's a romantic couple who are just so romantic. That little speech that he gives in the middle, and like
I haven't even watched it, and I know the speech.
Oh yeah!
The speech was all over my timeline.
Yeah,
because it was epic.
And that one I really enjoy. It was originally a graphic novel by Kit Rocha, and I really like his work anyway. I think he's just a very solid writer, and they did a really good job on translating that to the screen. And of course, Charlize Theron, she's amazing anyway. But all the other characters, I mean, you kind of like don't always anticipate how good they're going to be, but then like you love the other characters maybe even more than the person who you came to see it for.
Yeah.
And what else am I? Oh, I've been watching what's it called? I'll Be Gone in the Dark. It's an HBO documentary. I've been watching that every week, and it's kind of like horrifying and sad, and it's about a search for a serial killer, and it's a cold case. But
the Golden State Killer, yeah.
Golden State Killer, and it's been an interesting thing to follow along, even if it's kind of heartbreaking.
All right, Donna.
Let's see. The last book that I read, I actually read The Perfect Storm by Sebastian Junger. Bree and I have an agreement, which is that I love the movie The Perfect Storm, but I'm not allowed to watch it if we're supposed to have bad weather. Because if we are like forecasted to have not great weather, and I watch that movie, terrible, horrible storms hit us.
It's happened 3 times. We've had 3 tornado hiding in the bathroom incidents with The Perfect Storm. So she's not allowed to watch it anymore.
Yeah, so I'm not allowed to watch it anymore. So I was like, you know what I think I'll do? I think I'll read the book. So I
That
got
is
the book.
my New England superstition right there, fishing village superstition.
Yeah, so I was reading that. Let's see. I really want to finally get my hands on your thriller, Alyssa. I still haven't gotten that from the net galleys yet.
What? Okay,
I still haven't.
you.
I haven't gotten my hands on it yet. But I'm about to. I'm gonna make it work. I'm gonna make it happen.
I'll make it happen. I'll make it happen.
Yeah, I'm gonna make it happen.
It's
Let's
so
see.
good, you guys. I've read it. It's so good.
What have I been watching? I haven't really been watching a lot of TV. One thing that I have been doing is I've been listening to Zach Braff and Donald Faison have just started doing a like a Scrubs rewatch podcast. It's called Fake Doctors, Real Friends, and it's on like the iHeartRadio network. But they've had like so many it's just insane how many, like, they've had, John C. McGinley, they've had like Sarah Chalk, they've got, Bill Lawrence and like Krista Miller on there all the time. They've had Ken Jenkins, who played Dr. Kelso. He was freaking hilarious. So, I've really enjoyed their, obviously they're doing it, remotely and stuff, but podcasts like these sort of events are one of those things that you can still actually, do. So if you are a fan of Scrubs, that podcast, I highly recommend it. They don't really need my recommendation though, because it's kind of like exploded, I think. But very good, very good. They have a lot of really good guests, and they're like the real deal. Like, they just kind of sit and they're chatting, and it's like, me and Bree, and it's like, oh God, did you hear? And did you do this? And blah blah blah, all this stuff. So that's really fun. If you like Scrubs and you like podcasts, you should probably, try that one. It's very good.
Thank you.
What about you, B?
I watched The Old Guard, which was like so good. I watched Cursed, which was Frank Miller doing a feminism. I mean, it was what it was.
So I should skip it or no?
There were parts of it, like, it may frustrate you because there were parts of it that had so much potential, and then there were parts of it where, like, it's like half of it is just Merlin being a middle-aged crisis drunk frat bro. So, like,
I think that you're a little bit too advanced for watching Frank Miller do a feminism. Okay, like when it comes to your comic stuff, you're a little bit beyond that. I don't think you could take it. I don't think you could take it.
So that wasn't as fun. I read Holly Trent's, like, I've fallen down another Holly Trent hole because I read she released book 8 in the series, which was called The Angel's Fire. And she tweeted it. She's like, ice cold demigoddess and a fallen angel on a vengeance path, and like something. She runs a brothel full of coyote shapeshifters who are hustling men. And I was like, bye.
Yep.
So I bought it and read it without reading the first 7 books, but it actually worked because of the way it was written. So now I'm like,
Holly
going back
is fabulous.
and reading.
Holly is one of my favorite people on the planet. Like, I'm not just talking about like favorite authors or anything. She's one of my favorite human beings on the planet. But
And like
also,
when you crack that
romance author.
Yeah.
Yes, you crack open her, like, the cinematic universe, because she's got, like, all these series that are connected.
Yes.
So, yes, we have a Holly Trent cinematic universe channel on Discord.
Yeah. The HTCU.
So, you can read the Angel book without having read the others, you guys. I don't say that lightly. There's, like, not very many books. Basically, I would say that about the second Barbarian book. I cannot remember the title. I'm sorry. Somebody tell me the title. Milla's book. Like, you can read that without having read the first 2. I'm obsessive about reading in order. So when I say that someone can read out of order, I really mean it, because, like, I once watched 7 like seasons of CSI because Donna wanted me to watch like a season 8 episode. So, like,
seriously, it's pathologic. I mean, she's like pathological about this.
Yes,
I'm just like, just watch the freaking episode. I'm sorry I even told you this now.
Because it's like, what if something happens and I don't know what it means?
Yes! Angel's Fire is the Holly Trent book, you guys. And it was really good. I love it. Speaking of like heroine, demigoddess heroine, like you love them. So excellent. So yeah.
Okay, so I'm just gonna give a recommendation of a book I didn't read, but I just bought it, and it's a YA. I think it came out in February, like right as all of the coronavirus stuff hit the fan. But it's called The Sound of Stars. It's by Alicia Dow, Alechia. And it's basically a kind of dystopia. Aliens have taken over the world. The heroine is a 17-year-old girl who is living in like one of the alien cities. And they've also banned humans from having emotions. And that means not...
You have my attention, ma'am.
Listen, I was reading the blurb for this book, like, what? Like, I'd seen the name so many times, and I did not know what it was about. So they can't have emotions. That means they also can't read books, listen to music, all of that kind of stuff. But the heroine is making a secret library full of books and recordings.
Oh, good.
And the alien commander who finds her and has to take her to be executed, then listens to some music and falls in love with music. And then they go on a road trip to save the world. Obviously, this is something I feel like we would all like.
Yes.
And I honestly, I was like getting angry as I was reading the blurb because I was like, why has no one told me what this book is about? I think I'm not sure if it's a standalone. It's called The Sound of Stars. And it is by Alicia Dow. And D-O-W. Yes.
Oh, okay.
I can't read my own handwriting. But if you search The Sound of Stars, it should come up. I'm not sure if it's I haven't read it yet. I don't know if it ends on a cliffhanger or not. Check the reviews. But the reviews I did see did just say that they really enjoyed the book, and if you like the premise, then you would like the book. And that it will be my treat to myself after this weekend. But now people have been asking questions, so I should look into the questions box and
both.
Okay. So let's see. Is there a genre you secretly want to write? Which Melissa asked.
Yes.
So starting with I'm sorry, my screen was blocked.
Donna made that noise.
Okay.
That was me.
Donna, you go.
Historicals. I want to write historical romances. But they're an entirely different kind of research and world building, which is heavy on the research and a little bit lighter on the world building. Look, I'm not the holdup here. Talk to Bree. All right.
This was another one of my questions that I didn't get to, which is using historical tropes in genre fiction, which now
we do that.
Yeah, we do that a lot. We did that in
it's got a lot of
the last Gideon's Writers book that came out, Ivan, was actually it literally took part at or partially at a country house party.
Yes.
It was basically, it's a Regency only, a post-apocalyptic Regency. But no, I have this one specific thing that I want to write, which this isn't even a Bree won't let me thing, or Bree doesn't want to do it thing. This is a nobody even knows how to remotely sell this thing, because I want to write a romance that is set basically around the Vietnam era, with a soldier returning from overseas and basically having to deliver some things to his best friend who died in country, to his family. And, of course, best friend has a, little sister who is heavily involved in anti-war protesting. But I can't write this because nobody knows how to sell this thing. It's not far enough back in history to be considered historical. So everyone,
and write it as a novella,
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I could.
or just do it. I think.
Or just do it.
I mean,
just do it.
just read a full book. How easy that is.
I actually have the I have a playlist for this book on my Spotify account, and the playlist is literally called "I Will Never Write This." That's what the playlist is called. So I mean, I would love to read it. Somebody else write it for me. Get in touch with me. I'll tell you what the big twist was, and you can take and run with it. But I will never write.
Milla, do you have a genre you want to write in?
Maybe like horror romance. I mean, I kind of like bring elements of horror into my other work anyway, but I think it'd be really fun to write like vampires or werewolves or something where there's two human protagonists and the werewolves or the vampires are the bad guys instead of like the I think that'd be a lot of fun. I think about that a lot. I kind of have it outlined already, but
okay. Now we are 2 for 2 for projects that need to be
that need to happen.
Will happen someday.
What about you, Bree?
I don't know. Probably epic fantasy romance. I want to write some
that could happen.
Well,
that will happen. I'm sure that'll happen. We'll do that.
Maybe someday.
No, we're definitely going to do that. You heard it here, people. We're going to do that. I'm not giving anything away, though.
What? There was another question. What are you working on now? If you want to give a brief overview of what you're working on at the moment, if anything. Starting with me.
I guess. Go. Sorry. Like, go. I'm just working on book 3 of the. I forgot the series name.
Gathering of Dragons.
It's Dance of Smoke and Steel. Like these titles. Oh man, coming up with titles is so hard sometimes, and like fantasy titles are especially hard. But A Dance of Smoke and Steel, I'm finishing that up, and that's what I'm working on right now, and I love it so much. But I'm also like, it's a huge book, and we'll see how it turns out. But I love it.
You told me the plot of that book in an email, like back when you were writing the novella, and I have been waiting since then.
This is true. I wrote the outline for this book. In fact, this was the first book that I had, because I was thinking of this world, this barbarian fantasy world. And this was actually the first book that I had planned out. And so it took me that was like in 2012 or something.
Okay.
So it
was a long time ago.
Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah,
these are our timelines, people.
Finally get here.
I'm so excited.
And you guys are working on the next Mercenary Librarian?
Yeah, we're working on book 2.
So that's what we're doing.
Are we saying who that's about? No?
Maybe not.
Okay.
The book's not out yet, so. But if you guys want to know who it's about, like, there's a description on Amazon. It's up for pre-order, so.
And then read the first book so you can know who she is and what.
Yes.
Okay, so we're running a little bit late, so I think actually many of the questions in the box were answered over the course of the talk. There was one about you, Donna, and Bree writing as a team, but I think you will probably be answering that over the next few days. So make sure that you follow them. This is your first stop on the tour for your book, right?
We have not forgotten Hunter. We have not forgotten Hunter and Nita.
No.
It's just we don't have a contract for Hunter and Nita, so we have to do contract stuff before we do the, not contract stuff. That's just because we don't want to get our asses sued. So that's just how that works.
Where's your next stop on your tour, Bree and Donna?
The next one we're doing is on Tuesday, which is release day, and we are doing an awesome thing with the Rip Bodice. And And then we have lots more things next week, including, I think, next Friday, we're going to be hanging out with Miss Bev Jenkins. So,
Yes.
Super excited. Who this book is dedicated to, actually, because she's the reason that we wrote it. And she made it happen. And if you want to know why, you have to come to our thing next Friday. Because I'm finally going to tell why that is.
See, they're leaving you in suspense for a week. This is the first cliffhanger date night.
We're bad people.
We're mean.
We're mean.
And Milla, do you have any events coming up that you want to talk about? Or
I think this is it for me. I did a whole bunch of like promo before this, and now it's just like shutting off the internet and
working on the
falling back in the cave.
Well, thank you all for coming tonight. Thank you, Dates, for showing up.
Thank you, Alyssa.
Thank you
for hosting.
And you can find them all on Twitter and on Instagram, on social media. You can order books from Loyalty Books, who is hosting this event. Thank you, Hannah, for having us. And also, shout out to Crash Landing on You. I know you guys didn't think I was going to let the night go by without talking about Crash Landing on You, which is an amazing K-drama if you all have not watched it. And all right, good night, everyone. Thank you.
Good night.